A lonely, quiet, but a peaceful one. The work is not over. It has just begun. But it is a different kind of work now. A work of building rather than enduring, of creating rather than resisting. You have everything you need. The reason you felt this way is because a part of you was trying to survive. And that part can now be thanked, honored, and invited to stand down, to rest, while the more courageous, more whole, more authentic you steps forward to finally live a life not of desired sadness, but of chosen wholeness. And that changes everything. This is the psychology fix, not a cure, but a liberation, a returning home to the full spectrum of your own experience. No longer afraid of the light, no longer in love with the dark, but finally, blessedly, free to be. The paradox we're navigating, the desire for the sadness itself, a longing not for pain, but for the depth, the truth, the raw authenticity that melancholy promises. A feeling so profound, it seems to validate your very existence, whispering that to feel this deeply is to be truly alive, to be real in a world that often feels anything but. Let's go deeper. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a strategy, a sophisticated, if ultimately self-defeating, psychological maneuver your mind has constructed to cope with a world that feels overwhelming, impersonal, or unbearably shallow. Think of it as an old, loyal guard dog, one that learned long ago that the only way to protect the fragile, hopeful part of you from the harshness of disappointment was to preemptively summon the storm. To create a controlled burn of sadness, so that an unexpected wildfire of grief or despair couldn't catch you off guard. This melancholy is a defense, a fortress you built with your own hands, and the desire to be within its walls is a desire for safety, for a pain you know and can manage, a predictable shadow in a world of blinding and unpredictable lights. Pause, notice what that just revealed. Isn't there a part of you, a quiet, hidden part, that feels a sense of rightness, of poetic beauty in the melancholy? Ask yourself this now. What is this sadness protecting me from? What more terrifying feeling is it holding at bay? The answer is often not more pain, but its opposite. The terrifying vulnerability of hope. The dizzying responsibility of joy. The sheer exposure that comes with truly connecting with another person and risking the shattering pain of loss or rejection. Your mind, in its infinite, misguided wisdom, decided long ago that a sustained, low-grade sorrow was a safer bet than the roller coaster of authentic, unguarded human experience. It chose the quiet prison of gray over the blank, terrifying, beautiful, and unpredictable kaleidoscope of color. And the desire to be sad is simply the echo of that ancient choice, a habit of seeking refuge in a familiar emotional landscape, no matter how barren it may be. But here's the truth. This strategy, while born of protection, has become your jailer. And the first step to walking free is to understand the specific, hidden emotional triggers that reinforce these walls. The subtle mechanisms that make you reach for that specific song, linger on that specific memory, or withdraw into that specific, comforting isolation. Let me tell you about Alex. Alex is a writer, or at least they wanted to be. But every time they sat down to create, a heavy fog would roll in, a profound sense of what's the point that felt both dreadful and deeply familiar. And they'd find themselves almost ritualistically putting on a playlist of somber instrumental music, staring out at the rain-streaked window, and sinking into a state of poetic inertia. Their creativity was inextricably linked to this melancholic state, and for years they believed it was the source of their depth, until they realized it was actually the anchor preventing their ship from ever leaving the harbor. Alex's story is a mirror, isn't it? You've felt this before, haven't you? That conflation of depth with sadness, the belief that a happy, light-filled person must be shallow, that true art and true understanding are born only from suffering. This is one of the most potent triggers, a cultural and personal myth that grants melancholy a prestige, a nobility, making it seem not like a symptom, but like a badge of honor. a sign that you are one of the few who truly see the world for the tragic, beautiful place it is. And to let go of that sadness would feel like a betrayal of your very identity, like becoming one of the sleepwalkers you've always quietly pitied. What no one tells you is that depth doesn't come from the sadness itself, but from your response to it. True profundity is found in integration, in holding both joy and sorrow in the same hands without letting either define you, in the resilience that is forged not in the wallowing, but in the conscious, deliberate choice to step back into the light, even when the darkness feels more intellectually respectable. Another trigger is control, the intoxicating illusion of it. When the world feels chaotic, when other people feel unpredictable, when your own future seems shrouded in mist, the internal world of melancholy is a kingdom you rule absolutely. You decide when the rain falls. You control the narrative of heartbreak. You orchestrate the symphony of your own sorrow. And this sense of agency, even over a painful state, can feel infinitely preferable to the helplessness of being at the mercy of external forces you cannot command. Pause and feel the truth of that. There's a power in choosing your own suffering, a twisted sort of empowerment that beats feeling like a passive victim of circumstance. Ask yourself this now. In what areas of my life do I feel utterly powerless? And is this sadness the one domain where I am still the master? The third trigger is often an unconscious loyalty to pain, a hidden vow you made to someone or something in your past. Perhaps a parent who was always sorrowful. Let's go deeper still into the very heart of this pattern, because understanding is the first light, but it is not the key that unlocks the door. The key is action, a new way of being, and that requires weapons, not of war, but of reclamation. Tools to gently disarm the old guards and reclaim the territory of your own inner world. This is where we begin the real work, the quiet internal shift that starts to dissolve the pattern from the inside out. And our first weapon, perhaps the most crucial, is the weapon of conscious awareness, the simple, profound act of shining a light on the mechanism exactly as it begins to turn. Weapon 1, conscious awareness. This is not about fighting the feeling, but about witnessing it with a new kind of attention, a gentle curiosity that strips it of its autonomous power. Step 1, recognize the trigger. This is a moment of pure observation, like a scientist noting a phenomenon without judgment. You feel the pull towards the sad song, the urge to isolate, the heavy blanket beginning to descend. Instead of automatically giving in, you simply note it. Here it is, the pull towards melancholy. A trigger was just pulled. What was the trigger? A specific memory? A feeling of loneliness? A fear of an upcoming social event? A comment from someone that made you feel small? You name it. You give it a label. Trigger, fear of rejection, or trigger, feeling misunderstood. This act of naming is a magic spell. It separates you from the pattern, creating a sliver of space between the stimulus and your habitual response. And in that space lies your freedom. Step 2, reframe the story. Right now, the story your mind is telling is, I am sad, and this sadness is who I am, and it has an important truth to tell, so I must immerse myself in it. Reframing changes the narrative. You consciously choose a new, more accurate story. A part of me is feeling sad, and that part is trying to protect me from something it perceives as a threat, like the vulnerability of hope or the exhaustion of putting myself out there. This sadness is a signal, not a sentence. It is a strategy, not my identity. This reframe is compassionate. It acknowledges the protective intent without buying into its bleak conclusion. It turns the melancholy from a master into a misguided messenger, and you are the one who gets to interpret the message. Step 3, replace the pattern. This is the active behavioral component. Instead of the automatic ritual, putting on the sad music, scrolling through old photos, withdrawing, you consciously, even if it feels mechanical and unnatural, in rhythmic or neutral, maybe a podcast or an audiobook. If the pattern is to ruminate in bed, you get up and wash your face, or step outside for 60 seconds of air. The action itself is almost irrelevant. Its power is in its symbolism. It is a tiny rebellion against the autopilot of sadness. A declaration that you, the conscious you, are now in the driver's seat. And this single, small act, repeated, begins to rewire the neural pathway, proving to your brain that there is another, safer way to respond to that initial trigger. You feel it making sense already, don't you? This isn't about suppressing the feeling. It's about relating to it differently, about becoming the observer, the compassionate authority, rather than the prisoner of the emotion. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah had a ritual every Sunday evening. As the weekend waned and the dread of the Monday morning workload set in, she would find herself drawn to a specific album from her late teens, a collection of songs steeped in heartbreak and longing. And she would lie on her floor, listening, and let a wave of profound, almost luxurious sadness wash over her. She called it feeling all the feels, and for years, she saw it as a form of self-care. When she began applying Weapon 1, she first recognized the trigger. It wasn't the music itself, but the transition, the loss of freedom, the anxiety about the coming week's performance. Then, she reframed the story. This isn't about depth or connecting to my past. This is my mind's way of coping with performance anxiety by diving into a different, familiar kind of pain. It's a distraction, not a destination. Finally, she replaced the pattern. Instead of the album, she would put on upbeat, energetic music and spend 20 minutes planning her week, not with dread, but with a focus on one small, achievable, enjoyable task for each day. It felt absurd at first, like wearing someone else's clothes, but within a few weeks, the Sunday evening dread had lost its power. The melancholic pull was still there as a whisper, but it was no longer a command. And she found herself feeling more energized and proactive, having reclaimed those hours for herself. Her melancholy was a familiar room she had been renting for years. Conscious awareness was the key that allowed her to finally walk out and realize she owned the entire house. But awareness alone isn't always enough, because the pull of melancholy is often a siren song, calling you towards a perceived depth, a truth that happiness seems to lack, which is why our second weapon is so vital. Weapon 2, the cultivation of authentic depth. This is about actively building a life that feels rich, meaningful, and substantive, so that you no longer need to borrow the facsimile of depth that sadness provides. The mind craves meaning, it thirsts, or substance, and if your daily life feels repetitive, superficial, or devoid of purpose, melancholy can cleverly position itself as the only source of that substance. It feels real, it feels weighty, it feels significant in a way that paying bills or making small talk does not. This weapon is about calling that bluff and building genuine depth from the ground up. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. This time, the trigger is a feeling of existential emptiness, a sense that life is passing you by in a blur of trivialities, a yearning for something more, something that matters. You feel a hollow ache, a boredom that is almost painful, and the old pattern whispers that sadness is the only thing that can fill that void with something that feels real. Step 2. Reframe the story. The reframe here is powerful. This feeling of emptiness is not a signal to seek sadness. It is a signal that I am hungry for authentic meaning. My mind is mislabeling the hunger. It's not a hunger for pain. It's a hunger for purpose, for connection, for creation. This shifts the entire goal. You are no longer trying to alleviate a negative, but to pursue a positive, a fundamental human need that has been misdirected. Step 3. Replace the pattern. Instead of turning towards melancholic stimuli, you actively engage in a depth practice. This could be so many things. You could start a journal where you explore your biggest questions about life and death. You could seek out a conversation with someone that goes beyond the surface, asking them what they are truly passionate about or afraid of. You could immerse yourself in learning a complex skill, like a language or an instrument. You could volunteer for a cause that resonates with you. You could spend time in nature with the specific intention of observing its intricate, silent intelligence. The key is to choose an activity that requires your full presence and engagement. That challenges you slightly, and that connects you to something larger than yourself. This satisfies the craving for depth at its source, providing the substance your soul is actually asking for, making the shallow waters of melancholy obsolete. What no one tells you is that true depth is quiet. It doesn't always roar like sorrow does. It can be the quiet satisfaction of mastery, the warm glow of genuine connection, the humble awe of understanding a complex idea. It's a rich, layered tapestry, not a single, dark, dramatic thread. Pause and consider what your soul is truly hungry for. It's not more shadows. Ask yourself this now: what is one small thing I could do this week that would feel genuinely meaningful, not just pleasurable? You're starting to see it now, how this desire was a misplaced compass, pointing you towards the illusion of depth because you hadn't yet been shown how to find the real thing. Let me tell you about Ben. Ben was a software engineer who found his work intellectually stimulating but spiritually barren. He'd come home feeling empty, and his go-to was to watch bleak, philosophical films that explored the futility of existence, which would leave him in a state of profound, satisfied gloom. He felt like he was grappling with the big questions, but it was a passive, consuming grapple. When he began using Weapon 2, he recognized the trigger, the post-work emptiness, the feeling of being a cog in a machine. He reframed it: "I'm not craving despair. I'm craving a sense of purpose and making a tangible impact." He replaced the pattern. Instead of the films, he started spending 2 evenings a week volunteering with a local organization that taught coding to underprivileged kids. The first time he felt resistant, the melancholy pulling at him like a heavy blanket. But the moment he saw a young girl's face light up after fixing a bug in her simple animation, he felt a jolt of something so real, so vibrant. It made his previous melancholic sessions feel like a pale imitation of life. He was no longer just contemplating meaning. He was actively creating it. And the desire for sad, passive consumption simply lost its magnetic charge. He had found a deeper well to drink from. Yet even with awareness and authentic depth, there is a third, insidious layer that often holds the pattern in place. A deep-seated belief that you do not deserve peace, that joy is for other people, that your story is inherently a tragic one. This is where Weapon 3, radical self-permission, comes in. The weapon that dismantles the internal judge that sentences you to a life of quiet sorrow. This is the work of the heart, the softening, the allowing. So many of us walk around with a silent, unconscious narrative that we are somehow flawed, broken, or unworthy of genuine, sustained happiness. And melancholy becomes a self-imposed punishment that fits this crime we never committed. A way of living out the story that we are destined for shadows, that the light is not ours to hold. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. The trigger here is a subtle, often instantaneous thought that arises when you feel a flicker of joy or contentment. A thought like, "This won't last," or "I don't deserve this," or "Something bad is going to happen to balance this out." It's the psychic flinch. The impulse to sabotage a good mood, to retreat back into the familiar, safe territory of low-grade sadness, where there are no surprises and ease and lightness without having to pay for it with sadness later. My capacity for happiness is not a limited resource. I give myself full radical permission to feel good, to be at peace, to embrace the light, simply because I exist. This may feel like a lie at first, like affirmations that don't quite land, but the power is in the repetition, in the conscious choice to champion a new narrative for yourself, to become the author of a story where you are not the tragic hero, but the whole, complex, and worthy protagonist. Step 3. Replace the pattern. When the self-sabotaging thought arises, and you feel the pull to retreat into melancholy, You do the opposite. You lean into the am allowing myself to enjoy this. If you accomplish something and feel the impulse to downplay it or focus on a flaw, you instead do a small celebratory act. Tell someone about it, buy yourself a coffee, just stop and acknowledge your own effort. You are retraining your nervous system to tolerate and then to welcome positive states, teaching the deepest parts of you that joy is not a threat, that peace is your birthright, not a reward for future suffering. You feel the resistance to that, don't you? A part of you might be bristling, arguing that this is naive, that the world is a painful place and this is just wishful thinking. But that's the old guard talking, the one that's terrified of what might happen if it ever truly stood down. Let's go deeper. This isn't about slapping a happy face over real pain. It's about dismantling the unconscious of your sensitivity or your past. Pause and feel the weight of that sentence. You are allowed to put it down. Ask yourself this now. What would it feel like, just for one day, to truly believe you deserve peace? The integration of these first three weapons builds a formidable defense. But to truly end the pattern, we need a fourth, a weapon of forward motion, a way to channel the profound energy that was once trapped in the cycle of sadness. This is weapon 4, purposeful expression. Melancholy is often stagnant energy, a cooling of unresolved emotion, unspoken words, and unfulfilled creative potential. It is a dammed river. Expression is the dynamite that releases the pressure and allows that powerful current to flow outward, where it can become creation, connection, and action, rather than turning inward to stagnate and poison the well. Your sadness holds energy, a tremendous amount of it. Think of the focus, the intensity, the sheer feeling that goes into a melancholic state. That is life force. That is power. Weapon 4 is about harnessing that power and directing it towards something outside of yourself. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. The trigger here is the feeling of the melancholy building, that heavy, thick, full sensation in your chest. The sense of being full, of feeling with nowhere for it to go. It's the ache that feels like it needs to be cried out, but even tears don't seem to relieve it. This is the signal that the energy is present and ready to be transformed. Step 2. Reframe the story. Instead of, "I am so sad, I need to sit with this," you reframe it to, "I am filled with a powerful energy right now." This is creative fuel. This is the raw material for something. I will not let it consume me. I will let it move through me and become something else. This turns the feeling from a state of being into a temporary source of power, a kind of emotional compost that can fertilize new growth. Step 3. Replace the pattern. You channel the energy immediately into a tangible form of expression. This is not passive consumption. This is active creation. Write, even if it's garbage. Write 3 pages longhand, dumping everything in your mind onto the paper. Paint. Use colors that match the feeling. Don't try to paint something pretty. Paint the ache itself. Move, put on music and dance the feeling out. Let your body express the weight, the tension, the sorrow through movement. Speak. Record a voice memo to yourself, talking it out until the feeling shifts. Build something with your hands. Clean a room with furious intention. The medium doesn't matter. The act of moving the energy from inside you to outside you is what matters. You are taking the abstract, swirling fog of melancholy and giving it a shape, a form, and in doing so, you break its hypnotic spell. You are no longer the vessel for the sadness. You are the alchemist transforming it. This is how you end melancholy, the desire to be sad pattern tonight. Not by fighting it, but by transmuting its very substance, by recognizing that the desire itself was a misunderstood longing for depth, control, meaning, and expression, and by consciously, deliberately building those very things into the fabric of your daily life. Let me tell you about Lena. Lena had always been the sensitive one, and her melancholy felt like a close, if somber, companion. It was especially potent after any kind of conflict or disappointment. She would retreat to her room, play the same handful of heart-wrenching songs, and spiral. When she discovered Weapon 4, The next time a conflict with a friend left her feeling that familiar, heavy fullness, she recognized it as energy. She reframed it. This isn't just sadness. This is all my unspoken words and my hurt feelings buzzing inside me. This is fuel. She replaced the pattern. Instead of the music, she opened her laptop and started writing a letter to her friend that she never intended to send. She wrote for an hour, pouring out her hurt, her anger, her confusion, her fear. She didn't hold back. By the end, the chaotic storm of emotion was there on the screen, organized into sentences. The heavy feeling was gone, replaced by a clear-headed calm. She then closed the document and went for a walk, feeling lighter and more resolved than she ever had after a melancholic session. She had taken the poison out of her system and left it on the page. Her sadness had become her scribe, and in the process, it had lost its power over her. These four weapons, conscious awareness, the cultivation of authentic depth, radical self-permission, and purposeful expression, are not a linear checklist, but a synergistic toolkit, a new operating system. For your emotional world, you use them in concert, fluidly, depending on what the moment calls for. Some days, awareness is all you need. Other days, you need to dive deep into purposeful expression to clear the pipes. The goal is not to never feel sad again. That would be to lose a vital part of the human experience. The goal is to break the addictive cycle, the romanticized desire for the sadness, to see it for what it is. A signal, sometimes a valid emotion in response to loss, but never a destination, never an identity. You feel the shift happening, a quiet reordering of your internal universe. The melancholic pull will still come like an old habit, but now you have the tools to meet it not as a supplicant, but as a compassionate master, to listen to its message without being enslaved by its melody. You are learning to hold your... This is the integration, the freedom. It's the understanding that you are vast enough to contain all of it, the joy and the sorrow, the light and the shadow, without letting any single one define you. You are the sky, not the weather passing through. The desire to be sad was a forgotten map, leading to needs that were never met. Needs for safety, for meaning, for worth, for expression. And now you have a new map. One you are drawing yourself with every conscious choice. Every moment of authentic depth, every permission slip you sign for your own happiness. Every time you channel a difficult feeling into a creative act. You are no longer a prisoner of your own sensitivity. You are becoming its architect. The night is still here, and it is quiet. But the quality of the quiet has changed. It is no longer a lonely quiet, but a peaceful one. The work is not over. It has just begun, but it is a different kind of work now. A work of building rather than enduring, of creating rather than resisting. You have everything you need. The reason you felt this way is because a part of you was trying to survive, and that part can now be thanked, honored, and invited to stand down, to rest, while the more courageous, more whole, more authentic you steps forward to finally live a life not of desired sadness, but of chosen wholeness. And that changes everything. This is the melancholy, the desire to be sad psychology fix. Not a cure, but a liberation. A returning home to the full spectrum of your own experience. No longer afraid of the light, no longer in love with the dark, but finally, blessedly, free to be.